On December 5, 1960, Boeing had announced the 727 aircraft. With 40 orders from each of the launch customers, United Airlines and Eastern Airlines, it became the first ever commercial plane to gain over 1,000 sales. But it was a risky move. The 727 was designed to serve as smaller regional airports with shorter runways than those used by the Boeing 707. Lockheed, Convair and Douglas were already designing an aircraft to compete in this market, which later became the DC-9. Now at the time of the release, Boeing was still trying to cope with the startup and production cost of the 707. Furthermore, different potential buyers wanted different specifications. Firstly, some wanted 4 engines, and this was because at the time, twin-engine planes couldn't fly over the ocean, and they were only allowed to fly 60 minutes from a diversion airport. Now the reason for this was that engine failures were much more common in the 1960s than today. The distance a plane could fly from the nearest diversion airport is known as an ETOPS rating. The Boeing 717 had an ETOPS rating of 75 minutes, meaning it could fly 75 minutes from a diversion airport. Compare that to planes of today like the 777-200ER, which has an ETOPS rating of up to 330 minutes, planes would have to take longer, inefficient routes over the ocean. But the issue is, engines create drag, add weight, and increase fuel burn. Now some airliners wanted prop planes to satisfy ultra-short routes, as they could ascend and descend more quickly than jet aircraft. It was also much easier to operate them out of smaller regional airports. Now these issues explain why many Boeing partners advised against the 727 program. However, Boeing took the gamble, which ultimately paid off. Now they opted for the tri-jet design with 3 engines near the tail. Now this removed the issues of flying over the ocean and opened up the variety of routes for airlines. Now the aircraft's distinctive T-tail, the rear engine configuration, and the clean wing were unlike anything Boeing had ever created before. Nobody knew at the time just how popular the 727 would become. Now although Boeing only produced 2 versions, the 727 was the first Boeing commercial jetliner that exceeded 1,000 sales, and it gained a total of 1,831 orders by the time the final aircraft was delivered in 1984. What's more impressive is that the 737 didn't overtake the 727 in terms of deliveries until 25 years after the first of the smaller twin jet had been delivered. Now after Boeing had built 571 of the 727-100s, in 1965 the Stretch-200 was launched. On the 27th of July 1967, the first -200 made its first flight and joined Northeast Airlines a few months later in December. With a fuselage stretched by 6 meters, the new version could carry up to 189 passengers and had a range of 2,500 miles. In the 1970s, fuel costs had risen substantially, and with the arrival of the Airbus A300B in 1974, Boeing had to react. Already present with the improved Boeing 727 Advanced model, Boeing proposed the twin-engine Boeing 727, but it was quickly abandoned because of the high cost for development, and Boeing announced the end of the production coming in summer 1984. Now the specifications of the 727-100 and the 727-200 are very similar, but we'll look at the 727-100. It had a capacity of 106 seats in a 2-class configuration, or 125 in an economy cabin. For comparison, the Boeing 737-800 can seat up to 162 passengers in a 2-class configuration. Now the aircraft was obviously a single aisle and put 6 seats in a row. It was almost exactly the same width as the 737-800. Now the aircraft had 3 Pratt & Whitney engines, each generating 14,000 pounds of thrust. Also, the plane had a range of 2,500 miles, which was about 630 miles less than the 737 Next Generation series. Now the 727 at the time was a revolutionary aircraft. It was the first Boeing airliner to undergo rigorous fatigue testing, the first to have fully powered flight controls, the first to use triple slotted flaps, and the first to have an auxiliary power unit. Now this eliminated the need of ground power units, which were hard to come by in developing airports and countries. The plane officially rolled out the hangar on November 27, 1962. However, it hadn't gained enough orders to break even. Boeing needed 200 orders and was still well below that. In desperation, they sent the 727 on a 76,000 mile tour around the globe, visiting 26 different countries. Originally, Boeing had planned 250 aircraft to be made. However, 5 years later, after the Dash 200 model, with a larger capacity of up to 189 passengers was released, sales increased and 1,832 aircraft were made at the Renton plant. However, in September 1984, after a long run, the final 727-200 freighter was delivered to FedEx. Now, the risky 727 program had turned out to be the best-selling commercial jet at that time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Boeing History Timeline. For more information on the 727, visit avgeek.news for a more comprehensive post on the trijet. Be sure to subscribe for the next episode in the Boeing History Timeline videos, the Boeing 737.